Alrighty.
All right? We'll have coffee from there. Then I'm here.
Put it around my foot.
Yeah, I'll take latte, vanilla latte.
Well, hello.
Can't grab it then.
well, yeah, safe there.
They interrupted my introduction.
Sorry, I hold it for you.
It's alright, it's going to be a marker. Yeah, sorry.
Ooh.
Forgive me. Angry, I have sinned.
Banished. Banished from the
Action.
realm of
It's in
Speaker's
the
Corner.
outtakes. It's in the
As
outtakes.
I
It's okay.
was about to say, welcome to Speaker's Corner. Today is obviously very significant due to the conflicts. This is what we're going to be talking about in a moment. And behind us, we can see, Martin takes a step to his right, the turmoil which is erupting all across the world over this very serious situation in Palestine, Israel, Middle East, and the potential explosion of that tinderbox. Would you like to open up? Something to say?
Well, what I was going to say was, I came down here knowing that that's going to be a big thing today, Speaker's Corner, because it's always a big thing anyway. But when it comes to this conversation, it's like I can't try to ignore it. It's going to come up, but I'm not qualified to talk about the long history and go who's right, who's wrong. And then I thought the more important bit to focus on, rather than trying to pick a side and all this sort of stuff, is the human aspect, because that's what I'm supposed to be about, and that's why I thought no, that's what I should. The other stuff is a way to be tribal and distracted. What's the core tragedy is the loss of these human beings, the suffering that will happen after, and stuff that's happening that we won't know about until 10 years later when they dig up a mass grave or they find evidence of a group doing this or a group doing that. We won't truly know the horror of everything that's happening right now. But any life lost in this way is a tragedy. The fact that there's over 4,300 or something, when I looked it up, quick Google search. We can argue, oh no, it's 3,000, oh no, it's 5,000. Any loss of life is an absolute tragedy, because 4,000 lives lost, that's 4,000 poets, it's 4,000 thinkers, 4,000 dreamers, 4,000 opportunities to make things better, to turn things around. Any one of those people could have been the one that could do it.
Just to clarify, you mean on both sides?
I know, yeah, on both sides. Because I know there are people carrying out those atrocities, those are people that are victims of those atrocities, but those people that are carrying it out, as we said before, they weren't born to think that was okay, and they were conditioned to accept violence. And then the next generation, from the tragedy, from the events that will happen now, will be conditioned to think violence is normal, because all they've grown up in is this war zone with this history of generations of parents and grandparents saying, oh, this land is yours, that land is yours, blah, 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 and oh, these people came and took your land. And it just goes on forever and ever, and you have to find a point to stop it. And if we focus more on this human tragedy of this, rather than trying to compete sides against each other, maybe that would be better, because this competing tribalism, it never solves it.
This is absolutely true. We can see the hangover of such horror happening, which is division. This is what it's all about. Getting people to attack each other and abuse each other all across the world. This is people that believe in the same God. It's Abrahamic religions, let's not forget. So it's all the same God. And yet, somehow, religious people are finding reasons to abuse each other, attack each other, and kill each other. Is this failure of leadership? Is this what we want to be? Is this an important subject? Defining who is responsible for this ongoing and persistent genocide on both sides.
One of the, I was going to say, one of the biggest people who have their blood in their but obviously don't care are going to be weapons companies. They don't care. Someone bought a gun, and then that's going to get passed out to another person. But that's profit for them. That's guns that are sold. That's bullets that are sold to go in the guns. That's body armor that you tell people to wear so you don't get shot by those guns. It's bombs that are dropped from military planes or built by parts, someone building a bomb at home. They're all profiting from that. They don't want peace, because if we had peace, they'd go out of business. They'd have to find another way to justify their existence, or find another way to...
Just to interrupt you just briefly, please viewers, check out the share prices on weapon companies across the world. They're cracking champagne over the death of people in the Middle East right now. They're cracking champagne. Why? Because their profits have never been so great. They glorify and are incentivized to create division, because in division then you sell weapons. In fear they sell fear as well as weapons, because if we live in harmony rather than a constant attack and living in constant fear, their share prices drop and they go out of business. Maybe it's our duty to put them out of business.
We would all be a lot better off. Last Sunday, I wasn't here at Speaker's Corner, but I did spend the afternoon with my niece, and she's about 2. What's interesting is when she was playing the sand pit, and we were building a kind of pile of sand as we do, and whatever, and just having fun. But when you just observe all these kids just playing, they don't have that level of hate that a grown-up might have. They're just kids playing. My niece just walked straight over to some kids that were building this little sand thing, and she just started adding sand. And no one questioned each other's skin colour, or their religion, or their sexuality, or any of those things. They just went, oh, here's another kid. And they were like, cool, we're building a pile of sand.
They don't come with the same baggage as adults come with, do they?
And
adults come with baggage.
Building this pile of sand. I know, but to those kids, they were all doing something together. And so I was just observing that, and I was just thinking, how do we go from here to grown up, and then how does all that hatred get put into a small child like that to gradually carry that with them for their life?
I'm just going to add a little bit to that again. Sorry, it's kind of my thing at the moment.
Elaborate on something I've said.
What you've just described is profound. Let's not gloss over, even though it seems like a simple sentence said, a mere observation of reality. It can never be seen as that. What Martin has just said is profound, because when children get to interact with people who are different with them, they don't grow up in fear of them or misunderstanding them. And it's misunderstanding and fear that sows the seeds of genocide, which is why your Abrahamic religions, your leaders of the Abrahamic religions hate multiculturalism. Because in multiculturalism, you get to learn, live, breathe, sell, interact, love, write poetry with, sing with, grow with, and you get to, in multiculturalism, you get to live with the people that normally you've been historically told to hate and raise weapons with and fundamentally must fear.
Yeah, sure. It was just that kind of, as I say, that kind of. So, I mean, how do you go from kind of having a childhood kind of sort of thinking in the way that you saw people to maybe 10 years later, 20 years later, actually start to have.
Can you make sure we're both in shot?
Sort of more
And
opinions
to
about
see
it.
the red thing
But
there, there's a number.
To get you
Can you
to
make
do
sure it
that,
doesn't stop?
it has to come from outside, and other outside groups and organisations have to instill this kind of tribal idealism in you, or they have to try and to get the votes. They need you to be politically aligned with them and against that group over there. But something a woman said when I was here speaking last time, and she was absolutely right. She was brilliant, and she interrupted my speech, but she was brilliant. I love what she said. She said we should teach children empathy and love for each other, and maybe before some of the other subjects we taught at school. But those things were core, and we carry them on as we grew up. And we could keep those central, then we would have lived a bit longer and a little happier. It could be possible. It only sounds very rose tinted, and the idea of world peace and that only sounds crazy in a sense, but only because you've been conditioned to believe that it's not possible, because you're being told to just accept wars are normal and that violence is normal. And you should never accept that that's normal. We should say no. We don't want that. Why would we want that? There's nothing to be achieved in war. There's no victory in war.
Unless you're the weapons manufacturer. You walk away, as I said briefly, as we both said just briefly a moment ago, they walk away the kings and queens of this world because they have all the wealth. So, and if you don't believe me, check out their share prices. And every shareholder that is part of the weapons company making profits out of that, they're profiting from the murder of a Jewish child,
It's very
a
profitable, isn't it? Very
Palestinian
profitable.
child. They sit back and profit and call it their profit. They call it their profit. That's their true religion.
Yeah, I mean, I put the papers out in the morning when I undo the bundle and I have a little read of the headlines. Obviously, it's going to be very central to what's happening. It's weird. It has this report about hundreds dying in the hospital, and then on the same front page, here's some celebrity gossip. How is that equally important? I don't care what celebrities are doing. I care about what's happened to these poor people that tried to find some shelter in a hospital. I mean, who blows up a hospital of sick people? Who does that? But even the person that does, not that I'm sympathising with the people that carried out those murders, but they didn't grow up thinking that at some point they were that kid in the playground that just played with other kids. And that's how they saw the world. They just went, here's another person. Oh, hello. And what are you doing? Oh, we're doing it. You know what I mean? That heat wasn't there. It had to be put in them.
Educated.
Educated instant. Maybe it's because you grow up in a war zone and you're told all the time you're in a state of war. So all the time your psychology is about you have to get ready for war. You've got to fight for war. War is great. War is brilliant. We all have to die for this war. But you never see that there's a life that isn't about violence, it isn't about war, and that you can be together. It sounds very Woodstock, but I think Woodstock, anyway, that's about music, and it's another thing, and I may be going off on one.
No, you're not going off on one. It's very important to realise that love, humanity, empathy, these are what we evolved to have as tools so that we as a community can grow stronger, happier, more developed and technologically advanced rather than division and war, which is why the leaders of Abrahamic religion hate empathy, hate love, hate the idea of you not living in fear, because that destroys their business model. And I'm talking about the leadership of the Abrahamic religions, not you as religious people. They're totally different entities. The two are not the same thing. Your spirituality, your love with God, as I was being saying to an Egyptian lady just a moment ago, has been privatized and weaponized. To your love with God, your spirituality has been weaponized and privatized. So they make profit off it and sell war constantly off it.
Yeah, I mean, what easier tool to get you to go and kill another group than convincing people that a God exists, then encouraging that irrational thinking. There is a God, it exists, it loves you, it has all the answers that are pretty common in all humans have asked, meaning of life, heaven, hell, afterlife, all that sort of stuff. That God loves you, our religion has all the answers, come and join us. We're really, really bright. that group are wrong, if they don't come and join our group, our God's gonna hurt them. It's such a good tool to use to go and attack another group, and like I said, it uses fear to it morally robs people. I think the Abrahamic religions, certainly Christianity, morally robs people.
You're saying they're divisive.
Sorry?
Divisive.
It's
they're
very
divisive.
divisive. I think it pretends to be about love. They'll like to say they're about love, but then in the next sentence it's, but oh God, it's going to hurt you if you don't do what you say. So, but what I often find is when I talk to people, I know their better humanity is there. The natural humanity we all have, the good side of us that is in us, just like when we're that little kid playing in the sandpit. That is in all of us. We don't need a God to know that, obviously. You can look at studies. We have that basic moral compass. We all have that. But it takes a religion instilling God to get you to go and kill other people. It's a good tool to use to do that.
Yeah, I'm just going to add.
Very
now
efficient tool, because you never have to prove the tool.
Yeah, I think we've got to be very elaborate on that just a little bit. The reason why you do terrible acts in the name, you're asked to do terrible acts in the name of God, should be an indicator to you that your act is terrible. If you need a God to justify your actions and you're questioning your God to yourself, I'm doing something terrible, need a God, that is the very machinery being used to justify your next horrific crime. A machinery weaponized. That's what I meant by weaponized and privatized. Your hatred, and if you're questioning it, and you need a God to justify your hatred or murder, maybe something not wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with your religious leaders, and I would argue that I would personally say there is something terribly wrong with your religious leaders if that's their interpretation of spirituality and God. So please, if you're questioning yourself or feel like you're questioning your God, maybe that's the sign not to do it, rather than use a God to justify your next horrific act. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, obviously, yeah, read Bibles, read all kinds of books, indulge in all different kinds of books from all different religions and all different cultures, because they are all telling the human journey, the human experience. It's all about that. But to tie yourself to one book and think that's the absolute truth and that's the rational way to go. You want to try and look at all these different things, the art, storytelling, the human imagination, creativity is amazing. The Greeks had some amazing stories of their heroes and their kind of Prometheus. I love Prometheus and all these kinds of characters. But when you read a passage in the Bible, Exodus 21, and it starts the rules on how to enslave human beings, obviously you can go, nope, already close that book. Well, you should read it. But when you read that and the part of you that's going,
I think we should finish on that message of what you're saying about reading everything.
Yeah, okay. So absolutely read lots of things, lots of different books, lots of different things. Even if you might disagree with it a little bit, it's still good to read it to kind of get your own thoughts about it. Because then you can grow, you can learn more, and you come down fearlessly drop straight into a conversation.
Reading is vital, not just one text, but lots of text and multiple books. That's why Hitler wanted to burn books, to stop you from learning, stop multiculturalism from happening. Hitler was profoundly behind that idea. And if you're thinking multiculturalism bad, I think what Martin and me are saying is bad, that's exactly what Hitler wanted to stop people from learning, from reading. Don't be like Hitler, but be yourself. Learn to love, learn to read, learn to create, and add to this mosaic and this beauty which is called life on earth. Apocalyptic religions have only got one end result, but humanity has evolved to be creative, to love, embrace your evolutionary DNA by the means of poetry, sharing your love and humanity. Would you like to finish?
Oh, I don't know. I think you said quite a lot.
Well, thank you for
What do I have to do?
giving us your time. Thank you ever so much for any comments you put down below. Please do criticize or praise whatever you feel is most necessary. Martin, would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah, why be excellent to each other always? Peace is always the answer.
My name is The Dust, and I have settled. But not too much on this subject. Thank you, goodbye. Are we recording?